Hello friends, I welcome you all to Akash PG Plus. Today we are going to discuss dermatology questions that have been asked in recent INA-CET. A small disclaimer here, the questions are recall based and hence it is more important that you focus on topics instead of questions per se, right? So these were the important topics from where the questions have been asked this year. So you can see 10 questions friends, 10 questions from dermatology, short subject, that amounts to 5% of the paper. So dermatology is very important and it is very scoring, so please don't ignore short subjects, okay. So let us discuss with questions. So we have got an image based question here. Identify the type of skin lesion shown in the given image. So what do you think the lesion is? So in the lesion we have got a margin and the center is clear. So the center is relatively normal. So what is the type of lesion here? Is it target, is it annular, is it nummular or discoid? Now these three options students have confused. So these three options we will discuss. So answer here is annular. So this is a annular lesion, annular morphology of lesion, annular shape of lesion, okay. Now let us discuss each option one by one. So annular is nothing but ring shaped and it has got edges. So it has got edges, clear cut edges. Center is clear, very important. And the classic example for annular lesion is tinea, tinea corporis, tinea cruris, where you get central clearing and a border annular, right? What about this? Can you identify this lesion? What is this? So we have got three zones here. Number one is peripheral red border. Center you can see, center dusky red zone, and in between there is pallor. So let us zoom it. So this is the lesion and it is known as target lesion. So this was option A, target lesion. So target lesion looks like this. There is no central clearing here. There is central dusky zone surrounded by zone of pallor, and we have got peripheral erythema, three zones. So target lesion. So where do we see target lesions? Another important question. So next time in NEET you can get a question. What diagnosis is this? So what is the diagnosis here? What is the disorder in which you get such lesions? So answer will be erythema multiforme and the lesions are target lesions. So remember target lesion, right? Three zones, important. What about targetoid? Targetoid is different from target. So in targetoid we see two zones only, not three zones. So we have got margin, peripheral red edge and central dusky zone. Only two zones. So what are the conditions? Two conditions in which you can see targetoid lesion. Number one is SJS. What is SJS? Stevens-Johnson syndrome. FDE, that is fixed drug eruption. So two drug induced cutaneous adverse reaction, you see targetoid lesions, right? So don't forget this, it is also very important. You should be able to differentiate target versus targetoid, right? What about this? So this was option C, option D, nummular. What is the meaning of nummular? Coin shaped, round. Discoid, disc like, again round. So round lesion, round to oval, which is uniform from edge to center. Let us zoom it. So you can see here, can you appreciate? Round lesion and it is uniform from periphery till the center. There is no central clearing. There are no zones here. So it is uniform. So this is nothing but nummular or discoid lesion. Characteristically seen where? In nummular eczema. So this is the case of nummular eczema. Okay friends? Right. What about this? So you can see here, how the margins here, how is the shape of lesion? Polycyclic, concentric, coalescing rings, not concentric, coalescing rings. So coalescing rings, classical example, urticaria. Again very important, you can get this image next time. So the topic is important, not the question per se. Please keep this in mind, okay. What about this? Isn't it beautiful? Looking very odd. So you got a pattern here. What kind of pattern is this? Are you able to appreciate? Net like pattern. It is a net like pattern, also known as reticulate. So net like pattern of blood vessels. So this is reticulate, important, net like. Where do we see? For example, one example is livedo reticularis. So this is a case of livedo reticularis where you are seeing bilateral lower limbs, there are superficial dilated vessels, right? So can you tell me one drug which can cause this adverse effect? So Remember pharmacology? One drug that is used in Parkinson's that can cause livedo reticularis. The answer is amantadine, right? So you should try to correlate different subjects. Don't treat a subject independently. Try to integrate. In that way, you can better answer the questions and become a better doctor, right? Okay, now we have got a big question here, multiple choice. So multiple options. So you have to choose. So what is the question here? Causes of painful genital ulcer. Two things, painful and genital ulcers, right? So out of the six, you have to find out. So multiple choice questions. So let us see. I will discuss genital ulcers in short, and I promise you that you will never forget this topic in your entire life. Okay, so we have got a mnemonic here. School of ulcer. This is a mnemonic for causes of genital ulcer. So school of ulcer. S for syphilis, C for chancroid, S for herpes. School has two O's. So what are the two O's? Donovanosis. Donovanosis has two O's. So donovanosis, school, SCHOOL. What is L? LGV, right? School of ulcer. So these are all the causes of genital ulcers. What about gonorrhea? Can gonorrhea cause genital ulcer? No. Gonorrhea has no. Remember, no genital ulcer in gonorrhea. It will cause urethral discharge, not genital ulcer. Okay, right. So let us understand how to approach genital ulcers in MCQ, because many times you will get clinical scenarios including image about genital ulcer and you are asked about the diagnosis. So you should assess two things in a ulcer. Number one is pain. Is the ulcer painful or painless? Number two is lymphadenopathy. Is the patient having lymphadenopathy, and is the lymphadenopathy painless or painful? Right. So painful ulcers, painful genital ulcer, what is the differential diagnosis? Two important differentials. What are they? Herpes. So this is the case of herpes genitalis. This is case of chancroid. So two DDs of painful ulcer is chancroid and herpes. How do you differentiate them? Will they have lymphadenopathy? Yes, they will both have painful inguinal lymphadenopathy. So both are painful ulcer, both will have painful inguinal lymphadenopathy. Then how will you differentiate them? You can see in the picture. The ulcer is deeper in chancroid. We have got a superficial ulcer in herpes, and that is also polycyclic. So margins are polycyclic, right? Also, the lymphadenopathy in chancroid will be suppurative, pus filled. Suppurative lymphadenopathy in chancroid. What about herpes genitalis? What are the features will be helpful? Grouped vesicles. So initially the patient will have grouped vesicles which will rupture to form superficial polycyclic ulcer. And here polycyclic margins, very important. And recurrence. Recurrence is another important feature of herpes. So herpes tends to recur. So recurrent ulcer, you should think of herpes genitalis. Okay friends, clear till now? Right. Painless ulcer, three differentials, three DDs. One is primary syphilis, number two LGV, number three donovanosis. All three painless ulcer. Then what about lymph node? So on the basis of lymph node you can differentiate. Primary syphilis will have lymphadenopathy, yes, but it will be painless. Painless lymphadenopathy. Painless ulcer, painless lymphadenopathy. Think of primary syphilis. Very simple. This flowchart is very important. LGV, what about LGV? Painless ulcer, but painful lymphadenopathy. One more important finding here in LGV is that lymphadenopathy and ulcer will not happen at the same time. LGV has three stages. Stage 1, it will have painless ulcer, LGV. Stage 2, it will have lymphadenopathy, painful. Stage 3 will be elephantiasis, lymphatic obstruction, right? So LGV has stages, right? In the ulcer, first stage is ulcer, second is lymphadenopathy, number 3 is blockage of lymphatics. Donovanosis, what about donovanosis? Can you tell me? Donovanosis, no lymphadenopathy at all. Okay, painless ulcer, no lymphadenopathy, think of donovanosis. So I've got a wonderful mnemonic for you. Please write it down, very important. Herpes, a patient of herpes is pissed off. He's angry. Why? Because he's having pain in ulcer and pain in lymphadenopathy. So remember, herpes, pissed off. Okay. What about chancroid? A patient of chancroid cries and a patient of syphilis smiles. Remember, patient of chancroid cries, patient of syphilis smiles. So you can remember it, chancroid cries. Why? Again, pain. So pain in ulcer, pain in lymphadenopathy. So you have got the mnemonic here, herpes, painful, chancroid, painful. So two causes of painful ulcer, genital ulcer, herpes and chancroid. Syphilis smiles. Why it smiles? Because syphilis patient has painless ulcer, painless lymphadenopathy. So no pain. He is very happy. Okay. What about donovanosis? Donovanosis has got do matlab in Hindi two no's. What are two no's? Two no in donovanosis. No pain, no pain in ulcer. Second no is no lymphadenopathy. Isn't it wonderful now? Genital ulcer is very clear, right? If you remember this mnemonic, you will be able to solve all the MCQs related to genital ulcer, the case scenarios. Another wonderful mnemonic, lymphogranuloma venerum, LGV. It's like a bridegroom, dulha in Hindi. So it's like a bridegroom. Why? Bridegroom is happy at a time of marriage. For the short time of marriage is happy for the few days, but his rest of the life is painful with his wife. Similarly, LGV has got transient painless ulcer. So this is the first stage and painless. So the groom is happy. First stage is painless ulcer. Number 2 is painful life later. That means painful lymphadenopathy in secondary stage. Isn't it simple now? LGV, primary and secondary stage. Okay, friends. So let us apply all these mnemonics here and let's see if you are able to solve the question or not. So painful genital ulcer. So first let us see what are the causes of genital ulcer among all these 6. So what is the mnemonic? School of ulcer will cause genital ulcer. So school, S for syphilis, C for chancroid, SCH for herpes. What about O? Two O's in school, so donovanosis, and L is LGV. So this all can cause genital ulcer. Gonorrhea, no. So this is ruled out, right? Now painful, out of this, which can cause painful genital ulcer? Remember the mnemonic, herpes, pissed off because of pain, and the second was out of this, chancroid cries. So number 5 and number 3. So 3 and 5, option B. Isn't it simple now, right? So apply these mnemonics. Please make a mnemonic book and revise it multiple times before exam. Okay, right? So we have got another question on STD. STD is very important. 4 questions were asked in this year in INACET from STD. So true regarding chancroid except. So school of fish appearance, can we see? Yes, we can see. Bleeds on touch. Yes, it will bleed on touch. Painful ulcer. Remember, chancroid cries, so painful ulcer. Groove sign. No, groove sign is seen in LGV. This is an important sign, clinical sign, groove sign. So let us see with the help of a mnemonic. I will tell you. So first of all, this is a case of chancroid where you can see chancroid is caused by Haemophilus ducreyi. Important. Remember, chancroid cries. And it will have, why it will cry? Because pain in lymph node and pain in ulcer. So as I told you, the patients will have suppurative pustule lymph nodes, lymphadenopathy, and they will have painful genital ulcer. Okay, so let us see with the help of a wonderful mnemonic. So chancroid is caused by Haemophilus ducreyi. So remember, ducreyi is like a duck. So chancroid is like a duck. Why? Why we are talking about duck? Let us see. So ducks stay in groups. Similarly, chancroid ulcer will be multiple. So more commonly, it can have multiple ulcers. Remember. Number 2, ducks are soft. Chancroid, Haemophilus ducreyi is also soft. So non-indurated ulcer, that is soft chancre. Hard chancre is syphilis. Soft chancre, Haemophilus ducreyi. What about ducks? Ducks, they catch fish, right? So ducks catch fish. Similarly, Haemophilus ducreyi will have school of fish appearance. School of fish appearance. What is this? School of fish appearance. You can see here on gram stain, we see gram negative bacteria arranged in lines, rows, single rows, right? That gives appearance of school of fish. So ducks catch fish, Haemophilus ducreyi, school of fish. Okay, isn't it easy now? Right. Bleed when cut. So ducks will bleed when we cut them. Similarly, chancroid ulcer will bleed on touch. Okay, so this is mnemonic. You can solve the MCQ with the help of this mnemonic. Okay, what about LGV? LGV, we see groove sign here. So let us discuss LGV. So LGV, important thing is the cause. So chlamydia trachomatis L1, L2, L3, important MCQ. It is responsible for LGV, and it will have 3 stages. Transient painless ulcer. So very tiny ulcer, patient may not notice it because it is painless. So transient painless ulcer, secondary stage will have lymphadenopathy, painful BUBO, that is a secondary stage. And we have got tertiary stage where we can see elephantiasis, right? Elephantiasis, dilatation of genitals, like so distension because of lymphatic blockage. So what is groove sign here then? So groove sign is because of lymphadenopathy in inguinal region and femoral region. So we got inguinal lymphadenopathy, femoral lymphadenopathy, in between there is a groove made by inguinal ligament. So that is the groove sign of LGV, important. So write this down, groove sign is seen in LGV. This can again come as an image based question, right? So now we have seen school of fish. Can you tell me what all other fishes you have read in dermatology? So try to correlate again different topics. So fish in dermatology, especially for you. So fish net immunofluorescence seen in pemphigus. You know this fish net immunofluorescence. Number 2, fishy odor on adding KOH. Remember bacterial vaginosis, whiff test, Amsel's criteria. Again another fish. Number 3, fish like scales. Where? Ichthyosis vulgaris. Right? Fish like scales. Number 4, school of fish appearance, chancroid. So remember all these fishes even if you are a vegetarian. Okay friends? Right. Another question, again STD, very important. So a patient presenting with urethral discharge showing the following picture on gram stain, what is the organism responsible? So can you tell me? So here we can see gram negative diplococci, 2 in number, diplococci intracellular in the neutrophils, along with neutrophils in the background. So this is a case of what? Is this chlamydia? Is it mycoplasma? No, they are not usually visible on microscopy. Hemophilus ducrei, will it cause discharge? No, it will cause genital ulcer. So it is ruled out. Answer is gonorrhea. So the answer is Neisseria, gonorrhea. Okay, simple. Okay, so this is the list of causes of urethral discharge. Organisms are very important. Remember this last 4 because you know this too. Neisseria, gonorrhea, chlamydia, trachomatis can cause discharge. Mycoplasma, ureaplasma, trichomonas, we have got herpes simplex. So trichomonas vaginalis and herpes simplex also can cause urethral discharge. Okay, again this can come as a multiple choice questions, right? I've got again a wonderful mnemonic, Mithun Chakra. So what is the meaning of this? So these are the organisms responsible for urethral discharge. So M for mycoplasma, T for trichomonas, H for herpes simplex, U for ureaplasma, N for Neisseria gonorrhea, and again C for chlamydia trachomatis. So remember Mithun Chakra. Okay, right. Again not is important. So whenever you read, you should focus on not also. For example, what will not cause urethral discharge? Hemophilus ducrei will not cause. Syphilis, yes, it will not cause, and donomanosis will not cause, because this can come in the options all except, right? So you should know what are the nots also, right? So you know this now. Gram negative diplococci inside the polymorphs, think of gonorrhea, right? Again STD question, 4th question, I told you, very important. HPV. So HPV vaccine, they are asking about the HPV protein used in the vaccine against HPV. So which of the following is used? Is it E6, E7, L1, E1, E2, L2? What is the answer? Answer is L1. Again, it's a high topic. HPV vaccine, you should know it in and out. So HPV vaccine contains inactive L1 protein that is taken from the capsid of HPV. Right friends, important MCQ. So the guideline for HPV, again important, can be asked. The HPV vaccine can be given to both males and females according to CDC 2019. And what is the age group? Again it is asked, 9 to 26 years is the age group for HPV vaccination you can give them. and the doses depend upon the age group. In age group below 15 years, 2 doses should be given at a duration of 0 and 6 months, whereas after 15 years, 3 doses should be given at the interval of 0, 1 and 6 months, right. So the dosing frequency is important, the age group is also important. It can also be given to males, right. Okay, so we have got 3 vaccines, one is Cervarix, second is Gardasil, and the third one is Gardasil 9. So Cervarix contains HPV 16 and 18. So 16 and 18 HPV are high risk types, so they will not cause genital warts, they will cause cervical cancer. So Cervarix will protect against cervical cancer, the name itself is suggesting Cervarix will protect against cervical cancer. It will not prevent genital warts, very important, don't get confused. What about Gardasil? Gardasil contains 4, 6, 11, 16, 18. So 16, 18 high risk, 6, 11 low risk. So low risk will prevent genital warts because the warts are caused by 6 and 11. Okay friends, right. Gardasil 9, again it can be asked, Gardasil 9 we have got 9, 6, 11, 16, 18, 31, 33, 45, 52 and 58. It will also prevent warts because it is having HPV 6 and 11, right. Okay. So moving on to next question, another question related to STD. So which of the following is correct regarding the skin lesion shown in the image? So what can you identify from the skin lesion? Can you tell me what it is? So these are grouped vesicles, right. So some students told me that this image was shown, so I have put it here. So you can see again multiple grouped vesicles. So it is not umbilicated, it is ruptured. So it is not umbilicated, grouped vesicle, they are together, right. So grouped vesicle, what is true? Central umbilication is seen? No, it is not. So this is not the answer. Zank smear is done. So what is the diagnosis here? I have told you, this is the case of genital herpes, grouped vesicles, remember. So Zank smear is very helpful in genital herpes, it will show multinucleate giant cells. Punt cell, what is punt cell? We will see. Gram negative cocci is seen? No, it is wrong. So this is genital herpes. So the vesicles will rupture to form ulcer with polycyclic margin, very important. And in Zank smear, what we are going to see, let us zoom it. So Zank smear, we will see multinucleate giant cell. So multinucleate giant cell, right. And we can see acantholytic cells. So in pemphigus also we can see acantholytic cell. In herpes also we can see acantholytic cells. So very important feature, write it down, multinucleate giant cell, acantholytic cell, think of herpes, right. So some students felt that they were able to see the umbilication. So what was it then? So if you see the previous picture, there are grouped vesicles, no umbilication. Here the lesions are dispersed, they are not grouped. And if you see closely, they are umbilicated, central umbilication. So here it is difficult to observe, but in some lesions you can see there is central umbilication, right. So central umbilication, whenever you see central umbilication papules, you think of what? Molluscum contagiosum, right, molluscum contagiosum. So the answer here would be central umbilication is seen, right. So the answer will depend upon the image. Here it is molluscum, it was herpes. So you should know how to differentiate. Herpes, group vesicles, no umbilication, multiple dispersed lesions, and umbilication central, it's molluscum. So molluscum, again a question comes, the causative organism behind this lesion is pox virus and it presents with papules and central umbilication, very important. Another important question, image based question per se, one liner, it can be asked, what bodies are seen in molluscum? Henderson-Patterson body, HP bodies. So you can see they are intracytoplasmic inclusions. So you can see the umbilication, right, and these are all the inclusion bodies of molluscum, right, HP bodies. Okay. What about Punt cell? So Punt cell are large mononuclear cells which has got donovenin bodies in it. So safe tip in appearance is seen in donovanosis. It is what? It is present inside the Punt cell. So Punt cell is a large mononuclear cell seen in donovanosis. Very important. Okay, so donovanosis, Punt cell. Right. Moving on to next question. Here we have got immunobullous disorder. So the question is drug of choice. So drug of choice they are asking. They want to know the drug of choice in this case. So what they have given? They have given subepidermal blistering with neutrophils. So they have mentioned this, that the disorder is subepidermal and it is having neutrophils on the histology. So what is the answer here? So let us discuss how to approach immunobullous disorders in MCQ. Immunobullous is very important, ultra high, NEET PG, AIIMS, INSET, everywhere, right? So you should know. So let us see. So what is the diagnosis here? You have got clues here. Patient is having flaccid bulla, flaccid fluid filled blisters. So let me show you. Flaccid, it is flaccid, right? Flaccid fluid filled blisters and painful oral ulcers. Acantholytic cells on Zank's smear. What is your diagnosis? It is pemphigus. Which type? Vulgaris. Why vulgaris? Because oral ulcers are characteristic in vulgaris. If I say no oral ulcer and the lesions are superficial, that is scale crust. So scale crust lesion, the pattern is head and upper trunk, that is seborrheic pattern, seborrheic distribution. No oral ulcer, scale crust, no frank blisters, and acantholytic cells are seen. That means the diagnosis is pemphigus foliaceus. So no oral ulcers, but acantholytic cells are seen. So whenever you see acantholytic cell in a blistering disorder, you should think of pemphigus. And the subtype will depend upon whether oral ulcers are present or not, what type of skin lesions are there, scale crust or flaccid bulla. Okay. Now can you tell me the diagnosis here? Tense blister, tense blister, tense bulla, itching, urticaria, no oral involvement, no acantholytic cell, that means it is not pemphigus. So what it is? It is characteristically seen in bullous pemphigoid. Remember, itching also is a very important feature, itching and urticarial lesions. Okay. What is this? Classic presentation, string of pearls or cluster of jewels. You can see here, string of pearls, right? So tense vesicles, string of pearls or cluster of jewels, it is characteristically seen in linear IgA disease, that is seen in adults, or CBDC, chronic bullous disease of childhood. So CBDC and linear IgA disease have similar presentation, only the age group is different. Okay, friends. So the drug of choice was asked and it was subepidermal blistering disorder. So can you tell me linear IgA disease, it is subepidermal or intraepidermal? Remember, intraepidermal is pemphigus, bullous pemphigoid is subepidermal, linear IgA disease is subepidermal. Okay. What about this? So patient is presenting papulovesicular lesion. So there are multiple lesions and the patient has scratched it. That means there is severe itching. So papulovesicular lesion, tiny small lesions and severe itching. Site elbows and knees, that is extensors, and gluten enteropathy associated. So what is the diagnosis? It is very simple. Gluten enteropathy, it is dermatitis herpetiformis, right? Dermatitis herpetiformis. It is not related to herpes, but it is a immunological disorder, immunobullous disorder, right? Now, if you get the histological findings in the MCQ, use it as a clue. If you see gap inside the epidermis, then you should think of intraepidermal cleft, and that is pemphigus. If you see gap between epidermis and dermis, then you should think of subepidermal. So what are the causes? Pemphigoid, LAD, that is linear IgA disease, or CBDC, chronic bullous disease of childhood, subepidermal, and dermatitis herpetiformis. The question was on subepidermal blisters with neutrophils. So let us see. So this is case of pemphigus. Both are pemphigus. One is subcorneal cleft. So below stratum corneum, you have got this cleft, and here it is suprabasal, above the basal layer. Both are in the epidermis, so inside the epidermis, intraepidermal, but one is below stratum corneum, other is suprabasal cleft with row of tombstones. So row of tombstones you already know, single layer of basal keratinocytes sitting on the dermoepidermal junction. So what is the diagnosis here? This is pemphigus foliaceus, subcorneal, superficial, and this one is pemphigus vulgaris, deeper but suprabasal. Okay. What about this? This is subepidermal. So you can see here, let us zoom it. You can see here, you have got whole epidermis above, dermis below, and there is what type of cleft? There is dermoepidermal cleft, that is subepidermal cleft. So subepidermal cleft, we have got multiple differentials we have seen: bullous pemphigoid, pemphigoid gestationis, linear IG disease and CBDC. Also, one more important thing is that in bullous pemphigoid you will see plenty of eosinophils in the biopsy, whereas in linear IG disease and CBDC you will see plenty of neutrophils. So remember the question: subepidermal blistering disorder with neutrophils. So one differential is linear IgA disease. Now if you get subepidermal blister here, right, let us zoom it. So we have got subepidermal blister here with plenty of neutrophils. So these are all neutrophils. So the diagnosis here is what? So this is neutrophilic abscess. So plenty of collection of neutrophil, we call it neutrophilic macroabscesses. So if you see neutrophilic macroabscesses and subepidermal cleft, you should think of dermatitis herpetiformis. In linear IG disease, again you will have neutrophils, but it will not commonly form microabscess. There will be infiltrate of neutrophils, right? And again, depending upon the clinical scenario, dermatitis herpetiformis will not have large tense blisters, whereas linear IG disease will have tense blisters. Okay, very important. What is this pattern of DIF, direct immunofluorescence? This is fish net pattern. Remember the fish in dermatology seen in pemphigus. So these are all what? Intercellular deposits of IgG and C3, characteristic of pemphigus, both foliaceous and vulgaris. Okay friends, pemphigoid will have linear deposit along dermoepidermal junction. So this is the dermoepidermal junction, friends, and we will get deposits of IgG and C3. So this is pemphigoid, bullous pemphigoid. Okay. Similarly, similar pattern is seen, but you get IgA instead of IgG. Then you should think of linear IgA disease, linear IgA disease or CBDC. Okay. Right. So coming back to our question. So the patient had subepidermal blistering with neutrophils. So two differentials. Subepidermal blistering with neutrophils, two differential. One is dermatitis herpetiformis, second is linear IgA disease. So will dermatitis herpetiformis present like this? No. So dermatitis herpetiformis will have excoriated papillovesicles. If you see this kind of pattern, you should think of linear IgA disease. Though it is difficult to appreciate jewels here, like ring of jewels, cluster of jewels, but given the findings and the image, the best diagnosis here is linear IgA disease. And what is the management? What is the drug of choice of linear IgA disease? It is dapsone. Remember, dapsone is the drug of choice for linear IgA disease. It is also the drug of choice for dermatitis herpetiformis. Okay. What about rituximab? Rituximab is a CD20 monoclonal antibody directed, used for pemphigus. So rituximab, now it's a first line agent for treatment of pemphigus. How to remember rituximab is CD20? I've got a mnemonic for you. So in R, rituximab R, we have got 2 here. This is 2 and O. So 20, CD20. Rituximab CD20. Okay friends? Right. Now if this was the question, then what would be your answer? Subepidermal blistering with neutrophils. This picture, this is of dermatitis herpetiformis. Again the answer would be dapsone. Okay. Now one more important point here. Drug of choice is dapsone for dermatitis herpetiformis, but gluten-free diet is also important. What do you mean by gluten-free diet? The patient cannot take gluten-containing diet because patient is having gluten enteropathy also, and the dermatitis herpetiformis will aggravate. So what are the gluten-containing foods? That is also MCQ. So gluten-containing foods that has to be avoided by the patient include what? Barley, rye, oat and wheat. Mnemonic you know already, bro. Barley, rye, oat, wheat. That means, can you eat pizza? No, you cannot eat pizza. Can you eat sandwich? No, you cannot eat sandwich. So what else can you eat then? You can eat South Indian. Why? Because rice is allowed. Okay friends. So rice is allowed, but rye is not allowed. Please keep this in mind. Okay. This also has been asked in the form of MCQ. Okay. Let us move on. We have got another question here. Which of the following is investigation of choice? So they have asked the investigation of choice in case of contact dermatitis, airborne contact dermatitis. So contact dermatitis, that means it is allergy to some substance, right? Airborne allergen that is deposited, that is causing contact dermatitis. So what you are going to do? you're going to do patch test. So patch test is the answer here. Serum IgE we don't do. Radio allergoabsorption test, no. RAST, we are not going to do RAST here because patch test is better. The clinical relevance of RAST is comparatively less as compared to patch test. So patch test is the best answer here. What about oral provocative test? Oral provocative test we do in drug induced cutaneous reaction like fixed drug eruption, drug induced urticaria, where we give drugs, oral drugs to the patient and see if the patient is reacting to those drugs or not. Okay, so patch test. So patient, a farmer who presents with skin lesions, allergic lesions, eczematous plaques over the body folds like neck, exposed parts, you should think of Parthenium dermatitis. So airborne contact dermatitis. Usually a cause in farmers is Parthenium. Okay, so how do we diagnose this? So you have got a allergen in Parthenium plant that is airborne. So you have to diagnose and identify the allergen. So how you are going to do that? With the help of patch test. So in patch test, this again can come as an image based question. What is this? This is patch test. So in patch test, we apply a battery of allergens, multiple allergens on the back, a set of allergens, and we take a reading at 48 hours and 96 hours. Very important question. So two readings at the end of 48 hours, at the end of 96 hours, and we look for reaction, erythema, right? Presence of redness. So here the patient has reacted to Parthenium. That means he is allergic to Parthenium. Important patch test. Will not forget. Okay. Another question. Again, a tricky question. 40-year-old patient with chronic plaque psoriasis. So we have got the BSA here, 50% BSA, more than 50% BSA, but he has no systemic feature and no arthritis. So he is not having any psoriatic arthritis, he is not having any complication because of psoriasis. Okay. So which of the following should be used in his management? So drug of choice, treatment of choice, what is that? Is it narrowband UVB, methotrexate, cyclosporin, prednisolone? The answer here is narrowband UVB. So people are confused whether it's methotrexate or narrowband. The standard books, Rook's textbook of dermatology, Bologna, mention narrowband UVB as first line treatment for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Okay. So if they would have asked, patient is having arthritis, psoriatic arthritis with more than 50% BSA, then I would have marked methotrexate. If arthritis is there, methotrexate. If arthritis is not there, then you should go with narrowband UVB. So psoriasis management very important. 4 slides. First line treatment for plaque psoriasis, more than 10% BSA, phototherapy, narrowband UVB, ultraviolet PUA. Okay. Narrowband UVB, right? Ultraviolet radiation. So PUA therapy. So PUA therapy and narrowband forms a very important role here, but again we are restricted. Why we are restricted? Because these machines, phototherapy machines, are not readily available. That's why we prefer methotrexate. But in question, if they ask you, you should go with phototherapy. Okay friends, important. Number 2 is drug of choice for pustular psoriasis. So has been asked multiple times, 3-star. The drug of choice for pustular psoriasis is acitretin, that is oral retinoid. If the patient is pregnant, you cannot give retinoid, you will have to give systemic steroids. So that is the drug of choice for pustular psoriasis in pregnancy. Okay friends. Drug of choice for psoriasis with psoriatic arthritis, it is methotrexate. Important. But when should we use cyclosporin then? So cyclosporin is a inducing agent. It is having a fast onset of action, fast acting. So in cases where the patient is having risk of complications, for example erythrodermic psoriasis, that is life threatening, you can use cyclosporin because it is fast acting, and the dose of cyclosporin is 3 to 5 milligram per kg. Okay, clear till now? Right. Another difficult question, hair shaft disorder. So they are asking the hair shaft disorder with following hair microscopy finding is seen in. So we have got 4 options. What is the answer here? The image you can see there is presence of alternate light and dark bands in the hair shaft. So this is a pattern known as tiger tail, the tail of tiger. So tiger tail pattern, that is characteristically seen in trichothiodystrophy. Write it down, very important. Trichothiodystrophy, you can see the tiger tail pattern of hairs. It is autosomal recessive, that is genetic. And here we see three important things, that is brittle hairs that will lead to alopecia, photosensitivity and short stature. And we see alternate light and dark bands known as tiger tail banding in the hair shaft, characteristic of trichothiodystrophy. So tricho means hair, thio means sulfur. So they have abnormal sulfur related keratins. Okay, trichothiodystrophy. Right. Trichorhexis nodosa. Let us see the other options also. Trichorhexis nodosa, nodes. So you can see here, hair shaft is having multiple nodes along with it, and these nodes are weak and hair shaft will break at those points. Okay, again it will cause alopecia. So you can see on detailed microscopy the pattern. What is this pattern? This is paintbrush pattern. So paintbrush hair, paintbrush pattern. Okay, seen in Trichorhexis nodosa. This also can come as a MCQ. What is this? This is another option. Trichorhexis invaginata. Invaginata, this is invagination. So here we see invagination of what? Distal hair shaft into proximal shaft. Okay, invagination. And again it is called also known as bamboo hair because of its resemblance to bamboo. And it is characteristically seen in Netherton syndrome, another important MCQ. Netherton syndrome, another genetic disorder where we see atopic dermatitis also along with Trichorhexis invaginata and alopecia. Another option, monolithrix. What is monolithrix? Beaded hair, remember, very common topic for PG entrance, not common in general population. So here you see beads along the hair shaft. So beaded appearance, monolithrix. Okay friends. Right. So moving on to very important question regarding skin infection, cutaneous infection. A farmer presented with following swelling on foot. So we have got a swelling here and also discharging sinuses. So swelling on foot with discharging sinuses, you should think of only one thing. So we have got sinuses here, swelling. So what is the diagnosis? It fits into mycetoma? It fits. So answer is mycetoma. It is not chromoblastomycosis, porotrichosis, subcutaneous phycomycosis. So remember, mycetoma is a triad of three things: swelling, discharging sinuses and grains. So you can see, I will show you, let me show you a grain, wonderful black grain. So you can see a black grain seen in eumycetoma, fungal, right? And this is the histology of grain of mycetoma. This also has been asked as image based question, can come in NEET PG also. Please keep this in mind. Grain of mycetoma. As soon as you see this image, think of mycetoma. Also, you should know differences and the causes of actino and eumycetoma. Actino is related to bacteria. Which ones? Actinomadura, Nocardia asteroides, Nocardia brasiliensis and Streptomyces somaliensis. What about eumycetoma? It is fungal. So three important causes: Madurella, Acremonium, Fusarium. The differences are more important. Bacteria is deadlier than fungus. That's why rapid progression is seen in actinomycetoma and it can damage the bone. So the bones in the foot can be damaged by actinomycetoma earlier as compared to eumycetoma fungus. Fungus is slow growing. Okay. But one more important difference, black grain that I have shown you. So black grain, if you see, it is characteristic of eumycetoma, fungal. Black grain you will never see in actinomycetoma. In actino you can see red, yellow, white. Okay. Chromoblastomycosis, verrucous plaques. So you can see verrucous plaques on foot following traumatic inoculation. Chromoblastomycosis, subcutaneous mycosis. Cause is again important: Fonsesia pedrosi and Cladophilofora. Okay, important causes of chromoblastomycosis. One more important finding in chromoblastomycosis. Wow, this is what? Copper penny bodies or sclerotic bodies. This histopathology has been asked. It can be asked again. So please revise it with me. Okay, so chromoblastomycosis, copper penny bodies or sclerotic bodies, histological image you should keep in mind. What is this? This is a beautiful pattern of sporotrichosis, sporotrichoid pattern. So sporotrichosis, another subcutaneous mycosis. So you can see lymphatic spread, linear arrangement of nodules on the skin. This is following lymphatic spread in the extremity caused by thorn prick commonly. Okay, clear till now? Again important. So we are discussing high, ultra high topics and images. This is what? Asteroid bodies seen in sporotrichosis. Can you name another disorder where we can see asteroid bodies? Sarcoidosis. Sporotrichosis, sarcoidosis both can show asteroid bodies. Okay. What is this? Can come as image based question. Phycomycosis, another subcutaneous mycosis caused by what? Fungus, Basidiobolus and Conidiobolus. And commonly it presents as a woody hard swelling on the buttock or on the face. Okay friends. So this was all about important dermatology questions and their topics that have been asked in INSCET. I would like to tell you about our LMR notes that are freely available on Akash PG Plus app, and they contain high information, plenty of images, mnemonics, flowcharts that have been based on previous 5 years of NEET and AIIMS, and that will be very useful for your upcoming NEET exam. So please go through that, you can download that, you can revise. Right friends, so keep working hard, all the best, meet you again.